Morning, everyone. Ready to go for our next training session. Hopefully, everyone is well. Getting a bit warm. The forecast today apparently 36 degrees here in Brisbane, so summer is not too far away. It's certainly approaching very closely, which for most of us means, unfortunately, a heck of a lot of suit sweat, change of shirts during the day, and all that uncomfortable feeling. But I guess if it was cold, we'd be whinging about that all the same. We've had a big couple of weeks here. We're really gearing up for next week. We get our launch conference, so if you haven't booked in already, make sure that you do. We've got 5 terrific speakers that are going to be coming and sharing their wares with all of our client base. I've got Tom Hector from Harris Real Estate in South Australia, Tom McGlynn from the agency down in Sydney, Sonia Trelaw from Ray White Bridgman Downs, Karuna Dimolo as well from Coronas, the CEO of Coronas, and we've got Shane Brocklebank, who's jetting in all the way from Professionals at Wellington. They're going to be sharing all their stories with you. So we're really excited about it. It's at Cloudland, 9:30 to 2:30 next Friday. Make sure you get along. If you haven't got a ticket already, they're cheap as chips, $45, and all the proceeds do eventually head across to charity. So in addition to that, we've got some terrific, auction items that are going up. We've got mentoring sessions with a few of our speakers. We've got some agent profile packs courtesy of Domain. We've got some PR package courtesy of Bricks and Mortar as well, and Agent Mail doing some stuff also. So it's going to be a really good day. If you haven't booked in already, make sure you do. It's going to be a terrific event. I'm rocking a bit of an accessory today. Not sure if everyone can see the moon boot that I've got going on. I've got a few text messages already. Nothing too dramatic, unfortunately, just a broken toe. But in the way that I do, I've overcompensated and got a whole boot just for my little broken toe. That's hopefully healing up well. So if I've got any options for you guys coming up the next couple of weeks, you'll get to see this magnificent accessory when we do roll it there. The only option they had, unfortunately, was for Medicine Grey. So that's the colour that I eventually chose. But anyway, we're going to get into it today. We're going to talk today about predominantly about leveraging your business. So what are the ways that we can leverage our auction listings to make sure that we get the best possible outcome, not only for our seller, which is our primary focus, but also making sure that our next listing comes off the back of the listing that we have. As always, if there's anything in particular that you do want covered, feel free to just write it in the chat box. Jesse's monitoring the chat there. So if there's anything that you do want covered, any questions you've got, feel free just to tap along. She'll pass them on, and we can make sure that any issues that might be troubling you guys at the moment, we can cover off on them quite nicely. But what I want to start with is an exercise that we've done a lot in our training, which we talk about the 10 marble exercise, which we talk about 10 marbles in and how we're actually appropriating our time at the moment in this current market. Now, most of the markets that we work in, both throughout the southeast corner, interstate, and also across the ditch in New Zealand, most of the agents have a problem at the moment not having enough saleable listings. And that's not an uncommon problem. Usually, if you've got a lot of saleable listings, then there's something else that's going wrong. But the predominant problem we face is that not enough saleable listings is the thing that troubles us. So we talk about the 10 marbles in the appropriation of your time that you have at the moment. And if you had 10 marbles to give away, where would you be putting your time? So our first box that we've got, if we do our 10 marble exercise over here, this is prospecting activities. So this is our first one. Our second box that we've got is managing sellers. So dealing with sellers to get them into a saleable spot. And our third box that we've got over here is dealing with buyers. So it'd be an interesting exercise for you to do that if you think about this market at the moment, if you had to appropriate those marbles into those 3 sections, where would your 10 marbles be apportioned? Would you be going 3, 3, 4? Would you be going 8, 1, 1? And it's a really interesting question to come up. But what we're dealing with at the moment, or what we're training, is to say, realistically, in this marketplace that we've got, is that the majority of your marbles, if not all of your marbles, should be sitting in this middle section here, which is managing your seller's expectations. Because I'm a firm believer that the key to your next listing is having a current saleable listing. And that wheel keeps spinning on. And I'm sure that everyone who's listening on in would have had times in their career where you've been riding this wave of momentum and you just feel like everything's going in your favor. You're meeting more buyers, you're meeting more people who are in a position to sell their property, you're listing those properties, you're meeting more buyers, and that wheel keeps spinning over and over and over. But the reality is that wheel doesn't start spinning until you have saleable listings in the center bracket. Because if you've just got listings and they're not saleable, chances are you're not going to be meeting the right type of people you need to be getting your next listing. So one thing we're talking about a lot at the moment is make sure that if you're focusing on one thing at the moment inside of your business, and there's multiple things you're probably focusing on, but one element to really hone in on this marketplace is your ability to get your sellers to market. So what's the strategies that you've got? What's your game plan around getting your sellers to understand the market? We're doing a session with the team yesterday, and we were talking about The ways that we talk about vendor management and the words that have been around for a long time are conditioning your sellers, or are educating your sellers, or aligning is now a buzzword that sort of gets out there. I actually don't like a lot of those terms. I feel they're quite condescending. Our job is actually to inform. So our job is to collect as much information as we can, place it in front of our sellers, and give them a reasonable information base to make a decision upon. And twofold. Number one is to give them information. Number two is to give them a decision to make. So just a little tip before we get into what we're going to talk about today is that if you feel like you're really not getting that momentum, and you're really struggling, and you've got a few listings and they're not quite working for you, you're finding it hard to meet your next listing, really focus on your ability to get your sellers to market. Because if you get your sellers to market, good things will happen. Anyway, so what we're going to talk mainly about today is leveraging our business and our dialogues that we use around that. And primarily to focus on is talking about just listed and just sold dialogues. So just listed and just sold dialogues have been around since Moses first put his pyramid up for sale. I don't know if that's actually an apt analogy, but they've been around that long, and there's been different variations of what the most effective way of doing just listed and just sold calls are. And the first bit of advice I'll give you is if you're making the calls, it's a really good start. So if you're actually out there and you're making just listed calls or just listed door knocks, and the same with just solds, that's a good start, because being an independent provider out to the real estate industry, we get to deal with a lot of different agents, and I can tell you hand over heart, there's an awful lot of agents that aren't doing anything. So if you're already doing something, you're in front of a lot of your competitors, which is a really good start. The second part, or the second element though, is having the appropriate dialogue to make sure that you can actually attract and get what you need out of it. And there's a few stakeholders that we have. First thing I want to start you guys on is this. If you're not running VIP viewings for your listings, and particularly your auctions, excuse my handwriting, must be my toe affecting my handwriting. If you're not running VIP viewings for your listings and predominantly your auctions, you're missing a golden opportunity to actually engage people in. So VIP viewings are an inspection or a viewing that you actually drive the traffic to yourself. So we spoke about structure quite a few sessions ago, and we talked about the two types of inspections that you get. We have proactive inspections, which are inspections that you've sourced yourself. So you've actually driven people, not literally driven people to the property, but driven people to the property via phone calls, via emails, et cetera, et cetera. And then we have reactive inspections, which are you put your advertising out there, and then people react to your advertising and go through your home. And it's a really fascinating case in point and case in study. And I'm not sure who the longest serving agent that's watching on today would be, but the buyer servicing for us, or the vendor servicing as an industry in the last 10 or 15 years has gone like that. Our vendor servicing has got so much better. We do better vendor reports now. We have better vendor dialogues. We communicate with our vendors more. Our vendor servicing has really increased. On the flip side to that, our buyer servicing has actually gone that way. So there's been so much training, which is accurate, which is you need to spend time with your sellers and finding potential sellers, which is true. But it shouldn't come with the neglect of buyers, because buyers too do turn into sellers. But having buyers there actually creates a lot of on-flow effect that can actually help us get more listings. So VIP viewings are such a good starting point with this. So the stakeholders you want to get to your VIP viewing are the neighbours, the first and foremost one. And this is where it ties into our just listed dialogue. So our just listed dialogue generally goes something like this. Signboard goes up, we have a list in front of us, and we say, okay, I've got to call or door knock the next 10 or 15 people around the property. We're going to do the right thing. We give them a call and we say, g'day, it's Justin here from Apollo. Just want to let you know we've just listed number 26 in the street. We're having it open for inspection between 11 and 11:30. We'd love for you to come through so you can tell us what your property is worth, or think about what your property is going to potentially sell for. So that dialogue actually has been around for a long time. But the problem with it is it actually gives no incentive to the neighbours to come through. And sometimes we can even cheapen the call further by saying to people, well, you know what, you think about selling at this point in time. Do you know anyone that's thinking about selling? Now, in essence, all we're doing is asking people for money. That's all we're doing when we ask that question. So what we want to do is we want to make it appealing to the neighbours to come through the property. And the thing that's going to appeal to the neighbours, and the most missed element of this whole deal, is that neighbours care about the sale price, but they care more at this point about who's going to buy it. Because if they live in the property, or they own an investment property in that street for whatever reason, or they're a tenant in that street, They care about who's going to live in their street more than the sale price, unless they're thinking about selling. Because the sale price won't affect their day-to-day life. Who buys that property will affect their day-to-day life. So we want to make sure that our dialogue is reflective of that. You know, we want to try and tap into that. So our dialogue needs to be based around that. So our dialogue should be something along the lines of this. Hi, it's Justin here from Apollo. How are you? Oh, pretty good. How are you? Yeah, pretty good. Just want to let you know we've just listed number 26 in your street. You don't know this yet because the sign hasn't gone up. So trap for young players or tip for young players. Always call before the sign goes up. Always before. Because when the sign goes up, they know. Before the sign goes up, they don't know. So it's a better time to capitalise on before the sign goes up. Just want to let you know we're having it open for inspection in the property between Saturday 11 to 11:30. There might be a bit more traffic in the street just to be aware of. The reason for my call, though, is we are having a VIP viewing for the property on Thursday evening between 5 and 5:30, just for friends of our office. We'd love for you to come through, tell us what you like about living in the street so we can pass that on and try and find the right buyer. Now, that dialogue is vastly different to the first one. And there's a couple of key elements there. Number one, you're letting them know about the open for inspection on Saturday, which is a courtesy to say there's going to be more traffic in your street, you know, acknowledging the fact that they live there. Number two, you're making the call before the sign goes up, which is a critical part. But number three is that you are making it feel like it's a special event. We're having a VIP viewing just for friends of our office. Full stop. We're not going to put a sign out. We're not going to put an A-frame out. We're definitely not going to put it on Facebook, because all those things diminish the specialness of the invite. You think about the analogy between, if you were going to get invited to a wedding, you would receive an invitation. You would receive generally a handwritten or a printed invitation with your name on it, which says, come to our wedding. If you're going to go to an 18th birthday party, and I haven't been to an 18th birthday party in a while, Jessie's been to more than I have. She tends to frequent those ones. But if you're going to an 18th birthday party, generally, Jess, they get advertised on Facebook, I imagine. She's nodding at me. Yep, Facebook is usually the spot where they get advertised. You know, keg, come along. One of those has a specialness to it, and one of them has a, oh, if you're around not doing anything better, come along. So our dialogue needs to be reflective of making people feel special. That's the critical part to this, is make the people feel special. The next element is that you are bowing to them and saying, I care about who's going to buy in your street. You know the street better than I do. Come along. Tell me what you like about living in the street so I can pass that on and try and find the right buyer. Nothing about trying to make a seller out of them. All about trying to find the right person for their street. You know, maybe they could tell you the fact that there's a secret gate that leads down to the school, or maybe they could tell you one of the beauties here is the bus, although there's not an advertised bus stop, the bus will stop here. You know, there's 100 things that you could potentially do that are actually going to help you find the right buyer and actually pass that information on to the next buyer. So that's the first group of people that we want to get is neighbours. The second group of people that it's so critical to get is your hot buyers you're dealing with. So these are the next group of people we're going to invite to the VIP viewing, and that is the hot buyers that you're currently dealing with at this point in time. Because what we want to do with these buyers is you want to make them feel special. You want to open the door for them and make them feel like they're in a favourable situation from dealing with you over and over and again. So buyers are really critically important. So make sure that you're with the buyers as well. So around this, the whole concept is making people feel special. There's a great saying that exists out there, which is people won't remember what you said or what you did. They'll remember the way that you made them feel. And that is so true in this instance. Is people won't remember exactly what you said to them or what you did to them or for them. What they'll remember, though, at the end of it is the feeling that you gave them. So if we're making these buyers feel special when we're dealing with them, we may not get them to buy our property. But I tell you what, when they turn into sellers, or when they meet a seller, or when they're dealing with somebody else, then they will say, you know who I liked? I liked that guy from Apollo. He was fantastic. So that's really important dialogue to have. So the dialogue with our buyers changes slightly. Hey, it's Justin here from Apollo. How are you? Yeah, pretty good. Are you still looking to buy at the moment? Yeah, we're still having a bit of a poke around. Look, well, I wanted to give you a heads up. We've just listed number 26 Smith Street. Hasn't hit the market yet. We are having a VIP viewing on Thursday night just for friends in our office. Why don't you come along and have a look at it and give it a go before the market gets to it? Now, that dialogue is a really appealing dialogue to a buyer. come along, have a look before the market gets to it. You know, what a great thing to be putting out there to say to the buyers, hey, you are special. I'm trying to help you here. You know, different dialogue for what the neighbours is, but dialogue that's going to appeal to the buyers. The third people we want to deal with, that we want to invite, is the past appraisals. So any appraisals that you've done recently are a really critical piece to do as well, to the past appraisals. And our dialogue just changes to them slightly as well. Hi, just want to let you know, we just listed number 26. When I listed the property, I thought of your property. They're not identical, but I think there might be some crossover between people who are interested in your home, interested in this home. I thought you might like to come through. We're just having a VIP viewing on Thursday night, just for friends in the office. Why don't you come along and have a look, and it might be a really good comparison piece for you down the line. Again, special dialogue for that group to get them engaged. Now, the great thing about this is that if we can do this, and we can end up getting, let's say, 10 people out of these three groups, and you might get more, you might get less. What you've done already for the seller is you've demonstrated your value over on top of the competitor you have from whatever other agency they might have interviewed. Because let's not delude ourselves. When we get appointed as an agent, then we don't know how the seller's feeling. But in most cases, the seller's going to be thinking, have I made the right decision or not? And they're going to be second guessing that, have I made the right decision or have I not made the right decision? So that's a really important piece for us to be on the front foot straight away, trying to prove our value to the seller. So what we've done straight away is we've run a VIP viewing. We've got people through the home. This group of people here, who are your hot buyers, who are the actual people you're trying to sell the property to, have felt competition because they've seen another 4 or 5 people inside the property when they know it hasn't been advertised yet, and all of a sudden they feel like this property is desirable. So there's just wins on every level that we've got. It's just such a critical piece for us to be doing this. And it's so easy. It's so easy. But the advice I give you guys again is, if you put it out there on Facebook, it loses its specialness. If you put it on Instagram, it's not a VIP viewing anymore. It's anyone can turn up. If you put your A-frame out the front and says open now, the people that are coming in don't feel that special anymore. So the way we should be setting it up really is just get your flag. If you've got a flag, put it next to the front door, not out in the street, so they know they're walking into the right house, and be really low key. And if you want to go over and above, then things like putting out cheese, champagne, juice, chocolates, just add that little bit of an intimate feel, like, oh, this isn't your regular open for inspection where every man and his dog's going to come to. This actually makes us feel special. So just something for us to implement in our business straight away that's going to help us out. Now, the other thing around this is we want to follow them up and invite them along to the auction as well with similar sort of dialogue. So what's the advantage for them to come along to the auction? So make sure you try and put that out there. If you're doing an in-room auction, so I know there's a few people on that do in-room auctions, don't waste the opportunity to do that. Make sure you either Facebook Live your auction, use an app like Gavel, which is going to broadcast the auction out to a wider audience, and give invites to people along the same sort of lines. So, hey, thought you might like to check in on our auction. Here's the link that you can go to. And it can even be a really good value add to the neighbours, is that give them the option of doing either. Hey, thought I'd give you an invite to our auction on Saturday between 11 o'clock on Saturday. Maybe you're feeling a bit sloppy on Saturday after a big Friday night. You can watch it online via this link. Either way, it's a method of engagement. And let's not forget, again, the reason we do auctions is to sell property, but the reason we do auctions is to demonstrate who we are as a business, or who we are as an agency, virtual listing presentations. So it's really important that we do that. Don't miss that opportunity just because you think it's in rooms or they might not be there. So our follow-up to this is then working on our just sold dialogue. So the general just sold dialogue goes like this. Hey, it's Justin here from Apollo. Just wanted to let you know I've sold number 26. It sold for 680. A bit of a superstar. Are you thinking about selling? No. Do you know anyone who's thinking about selling? Because I've got tons of leftover buyers. I've got buyers everywhere. No. Okay, no worries. I'll speak to you again in a month's time. It's just a really crass dialogue. First bit, you're beating your chest, and then the second bit, you're putting your hand out to get some more money off them. So what we want to do is change the dialogue again to reflect what we're actually trying to establish. And here's another tip that might help you to implement into your business. That's something you can just change and make work. Run another open for inspection or run another VIP viewing after you've sold the property. I'll say it again. run another VIP viewing or run another inspection after you've sold the property. And here's why. What you want to do is you want to get the new buyers and you want to have them at that viewing, because it'll just set up your dialogue with the neighbours beautifully. Hi, it's Justin here from Apollo. How are you? Oh, pretty good, thank you. Just want to let you know we just sold number 26. It sold for 680. Don't know this yet because the sold sticker hasn't gone up yet. Emphasise that. But we are having one more VIP viewing this Saturday from 11 o'clock. The reason why I'd love you guys to come along is we're actually going to have the new neighbours there. We'd love you to meet them so you can actually get a feel for them and they get a feel for you, so it's a bit more friendly when they move into the neighbourhood. How does that sound? Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds good. So it's a really great way to actually assimilate these new people that have bought the property inside of their community. And our job is to care beyond the transaction, because most people's care levels go like this goes unconditional. And the communication problem we always get is, as soon as it went unconditional, we never heard from the agent again. So what we've got to make sure, what we really got to ensure is the fact that we as agents make sure we care beyond the transaction. A lot of question we get on this quite often is, well, what do they say then to the old owners? How do you get them out? A couple of movie tickets is usually a really good way just to get them out of the property. Say, look, do you mind if I do one last open for inspection? The reason we do this is to get the new buyers to meet the neighbourhood. Don't have to have the home looking like a show home. It's already sold. Don't stress about that. But it's just a really nice value add. Can we do that? So it's a really easy way, again, to get an extra chance to get in front of the neighbours. Same time, we're calling up the past appraisals and the buyers to say, hey, I want to let you know that property is now sold, that one you came through. It sold for 680. I thought it might be valuable. We're opening up one last time on Saturday or Thursday night. Do you want to come through and have a comparison for what you're looking now that the property is sold and you know what the price is? It'll help your research. Again, we're just providing something that's in it for them. And the easiest way to get what you want is to always give someone else what they want. So these little things can help provide value. Just a couple of easy ways. And look, I'm pretty passionate about getting this, because I think these are easy ways to make our business better quickly. And there's not a lot of things like that in real estate, but these things are very easy to do. Very, very easy to do. And it's just a matter of doing them, and then our business improves. I'm a frequent traveller, so a lot of you know that I call auctions in New Zealand. I do a lot of training around Australia as well, so I get to know planes and airlines very well. And I think we can take a few lessons as an industry from the airline industry, because the one powerful thing that airlines do all the time is that they get you to want to fly with the same airline over and over again. I'm a Virgin member, so I'm a Virgin frequent flyer, so I fly Virgin 99% of the time. But if ever I have to fly Qantas, I feel actually less than a regular human. I feel subpar, because I don't get on the plane first. I don't get preferential seating. I don't get overhead locker space reserved for you. You don't get a spare seat next to you. All those, you don't manage to get off the plane first as well. So all those little value adds that I now take for granted because I get them on Virgin all the time, when they get taken away from me, I feel subpar. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that the people who we're dealing with all the time, these three key stakeholders, that they feel special. They feel like they're valued. And they feel like, every time I go through that open home with Brett or with Adam or whoever, then I feel good about myself. And then I go through the open home with Jono or Wendy or whoever, and it's just meh. We don't want to be meh. We want to be, that makes me feel good. And it's very easy to do that. Very easy to do that. It's just a little tweak to our dialogues. So on this line too, just make sure about reporting our successes. We're pretty big on this about how we actually report our successes. Just do it with a degree of humility. I guess I'm super sensitive because my predominant group of friends on Facebook are real estate agents. So I probably see at least 35 just solds every single day. Your Facebook friends in most cases actually aren't your client base. So putting a just sold on Facebook is not really going to accomplish anything other than making us feel better, maybe releasing some dopamine. So realistically, you want to be presenting it in a way that's a bit of humility around it. I always think it's funny that if we changed it to a different occupation, the different occupations don't do what we do. You know, you go down to the regular barista in the morning and they sell you a caramel latte if you're not a real coffee drinker like Jess, and you just like sugar water with a bit of milk in it. They don't go on there and say, just sold another caramel latte, boom, you know, just sold another piece of flathead, bang. Like, this is part of our role. Part of our role is selling properties. Some questions, Jess?
On a completely separate matter, have you heard of open negotiation? If so, what are your thoughts?
Okay, I'll come back to open negotiation in a second. Who asked the question, Jess? Lachlan, cool. I'll come to open negotiation pretty shortly. But I just think the way we report our success is important because that reflects us as a person. So if you're out there bragging about your successes, that's the impression you will give to people. If you are just reporting the numbers behind your successes, so instead of saying just sold for record price in the area, the information that you give is more critical, which is we had 38 inspections, we had 1,700 online views, we had 29 inquiries, we had 14 second inspections, we end up with 4 contracts. That's actually important data, and that's important information that's out there, and that tells a better story than sold for suburb record price for a 3-bedroom house with a garden shed without a pool on a 650 square metre block. Again, are we doing it to make us feel better, or are we doing it to try and position ourselves to get the next listing inside of the door? Last thing I wanted to just follow up on before we'll talk about open negotiation as a topic is your post-auction flight plan. And we get a lot of questions around this, is what's the best strategy post-auction if it doesn't sell? How do we proceed from that point? My firm belief is that it depends on a couple of things. Number one, it depends on the amount of interest you've got waiting for the property as soon as it gets passed in. And number two, it depends on how close to a realistic selling figure your seller is. So if you have no interest, for example, post-auction, but your seller is in a really good spot, then put it online straight away to price. Don't wait a couple of days, put it online straight away to price and go to the market. If you've got someone that's loitering around post-auction, it may be a post-auction buyer, or certainly made the right sort of noises, they might be a conditional party, then I'm a big fan of the holding for 48 hours situation, which puts urgency on that buyer. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, what we're going to do now is we're actually not going to advertise with a price. Our sellers are very keen to listen to offers in the next 48-hour window. So you've got that time if you want to put an offer in front of them. If you don't do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go with a price of the property on Tuesday afternoon. And with the price I think that we're going to list with, I think there's going to be a lot of competition. So you've actually given the window and a bit of a priority for that conditional buyer. But if they want to hold and wait, then we're going to go on with our plan after that. If your seller's really overpriced, sometimes it's better to hold without that price. But at some point, you're going to have to bite the bullet and put it on there. Because if they're really overpriced, they probably need to go through the experience of getting no inquiries, no inspections to actually give them a bit of a correction and a bit of an understanding. So that's a really quick synopsis on what I think the best plan is, but it's a bit of a custom-made plan depending on what you've got going on. So open negotiation as a topic, I don't know a ton about it. I know a little bit about it. Look, I think I'm always a big believer that one of the key facets behind auction, and why auction's been around since the Egyptians built their pyramids, which is actually true, by the way, is I think that auction relies on face-to-face competition. And that's actually how you get the best possible prices. This person's here, that person's there. I want this home to live in for my family. I want this home to live with my family. And I think that's a good way of doing it. And this has always been my argument, I guess, a little bit against tender or set date of sale, which is a really popular one across the ditch, is tender for me does everything an auction does, exactly the same, but it just lacks that last bit of punch between the people looking at each other and competing. And I think I'm always the believer, I'll look to sport for most analogies, but the world 100-metre sprint record has been beaten in most times in Olympic finals. And the reason why that's happened is because the competition's so strong, and that's actually what drives people to that next step. Where I think open negotiation has a really good application is in similar situations to tender, which is where you might have a variety of terms that are possibly in play. That's, I think, going to be its best application. Because I think if you could get cash unconditional buyers and you can have a situation either they're face-to-face fighting it out or they're behind a computer screen tapping, I would much rather have them face-to-face. So I always think that's the best environment to get the best price in most cases. There's never a one-size-fits-all, and it's never going to be everything. But I think in most cases, that face-to-face competition is going to be where we're going to get the best possible price. I like things like, and use Gavel. And look, I'm involved with Gavel as an ambassador, so I guess I'm a little bit closer and tied to that. Where I think Gavel, for example, has really good applications. If you have bidders that can't be there, having them be able to watch the auction gives an extra layer of engagement, but the preference is always to have bidders there. That's always number one goal, is to have bidders at the auction competing with each other and pushing themselves forward. But like everything, I probably don't know enough about it to have a formal opinion to say yes or no, but I think it's certainly going to have an application in some sense or in some form. Guys, any other questions before we do tail it off today? Finish up. Jess, we're all good? So a couple of quick reminders again. Launch is next Friday, so really critical. If you haven't booked in already, make sure you get on there. We've got a few seats still available. We're really looking forward to the great speakers there. We are launching our online sales training program for 2019 in the coming week. So if your office or you've got any interest in getting your team involved to do some more intimate stuff online, we'd certainly love to have a chat to you as well. And there is some detail on our website, apolloauctions.com.au, or just email Jess. She's always happy to field your inquiries to help you along. But guys, good luck on the weekend. I hope it's a successful one for you, pushing through to the end of the year. And hopefully this warm weather holds away for a little bit. And we look forward to seeing you in a month or so's time.
Oh, whoops. Sorry, I have a question.
Okay.
He said,
Sorry, I just signed off a little bit quickly. I think Jared might have a question. Jess, is that right?
Yeah.
Jared, Jess, fire away.
How would you perform your online watches into your Facebook Live stuff from a potential seller perspective?
Yep. So exactly the same as what you do normally. I do a neighbourhood door knock or even a letterbox drop. Get some flyers printed up, or even just ones that you hand up yourself, and actually give them a link to your Facebook that you're going to be broadcasting it from. So awesome dialogue. Okay. All right. Well, the dialogue's actually quite simple. I think it's just to say, hey, it's Justin here. Just want to let you know we've got the auction that's coming up on Saturday at 26 Fifth Street, a property that's not the same as yours, but I definitely think there's some crossover in the buyers. We'd love to have you come along, but if you can't come along, you can watch it virtually. We're going to be Facebook Living it. All you need to do is to add me as a friend, or go onto the page. If it's a public page, the link is Jared Tyler AUS or whatever it might be, and that'll be broadcast live from 11 o'clock. That's easy. It's really simple, because all you're doing is opening the avenue that they can either go there or they can do it at their convenience and watch it back. I wouldn't tell them at that point that they can watch it back again later on, because you want to try and get them as a live viewer. But certainly the wrap-up can be after that, is when you call them, is you can say, hey, I just want to let you know we did the auction last Saturday at 26 Fifth Street, sold on the hammer for $690. If you would like to watch it back to get a feel for how the current market is performing, you can go onto Facebook and watch it here. Really simple way to do things. But this is the way now with technology that we need to start, I guess, engaging with the people that we've got. Social media is everything. Does that cover off, Jared, what you sort of had in mind?
That you're a pioneer.
I'm a pioneer. I haven't been called that before. I've been called a lot of things starting with P, but never a pioneer. So, Jared, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. Enjoy.